Hello! Today's lesson, as you can see from the screen, is decimal arithmetic. How to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimal, and why each of those methods works. I am going to show you how to do each adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, and then I am going to explain why that method works. I explain how to do things a little differently than other people, so this is why I'd like you to pay careful attention. All right, let's begin. So, first, let's talk about what decimals are, or more properly, decimal fractions, because technically any number that's written in base 10 system is a decimal, whether or not it has digits after the decimal point. We're concerned with numbers that have digits after the decimal point, and those are really fractional parts. So these are decimal fractions. These are numbers which are not integers. So that's what we are interested here. So let's say I have a 3, then a 0, then a 0, then a 1, and a 5. So that would be, as a mixed number, 3 and 15, and since the 5 is in that place, it would be 10 thousandths. But as you know, mixed numbers are evil, so as a fraction it would be 30015 30,015 10 thousandths. And that can be simplified, but it doesn't have to be. As you can tell, it is written in A over B form, A over B form. So therefore, this is a rational number. It is not an integer because it has a fractional part. Okay, so let's multiply. So, step 1, I want you to write it vertically. And I want you to ignore the fact that it has decimal points. Ignore the decimal points. And technically you want to put the one with more digits on top. You don't have to. I'll show you. The more digits on top would be 384 at the top. And no, I don't need the 0 there because you know that multiplying by 0 does nothing. And I'll put the one with less digits on the bottom. That's 28. Notice it's not 0.384, it's not 2.8, just 384 and 28. And then I'll do it the other way. 28, 384. Okay, so here I would do 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3. 8 times 8 is 64, plus 3 is 67, carry the 6. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 6 makes 30. Then I'll put a 0 placeholder. You don't have to put a 0 there. You can just skip a digit. It doesn't make any difference. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. That makes 2. That's 15. Carry the 1. 7. 10 and 3. 7 and 3 makes 10. Now, that was multiplying with the one with more digits on top. Let's multiply with the one with fewer digits on top. 8 times 4 is 32. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Put a placeholder. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 6 is 22. 2 placeholders. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 2 is 6, 7, 8. Add that up. 2, 5, 7, 10. Notice it's the same number, 10,752, but in this case, I have 2 multiplications, 1, 2, and in this case, it takes 3. I think 2 is less than 3. That is why I recommend putting the one with more digits on the top, but as you can see, it doesn't make any difference. So, you get that. Now we have to decide where the decimal point goes, so we'll do step 2. Count the decimal place values. Add them, and place the decimal point. Okay, so it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, it is 1.0752, 1 and 752 10 thousandths, and that is the value. Now, why does that work? Well, Let's think of these two things as fractions. This one is 28 tenths, and we're multiplying it by 384 thousandths. Now I know that there's cross-canceling to do, but we're not going to do cross-canceling. I just want you to see what this would do. What would you do first? Well, you would do 28 times 384. What did we do over here? We did 28 times 384. I got 10,052, 752. So that would be 10,752. Then we would do 10 times 1,000, and I get 10,000. And look, wouldn't that make it 1.0752? And that is why you count the place. You do this second step. You count the decimal values, and you add them, and you place the decimal point. This goes 4 places over because it's 1 place, and 3 places makes 4 places because that's multiplying 10 times 1,000 to make 10,000. And that's how multiplying decimal fractions work. Now, what if this was negative 2.8? That would just make this negative 1.0752. And what if this was negative 0.384 also? Well, that would just be positive 1.052752. Doesn't make any difference. One negative is negative, 2 negatives makes positive. You can handle that. That's how to multiply decimals. Let's move on. Dividing decimals. So step 1. Oops, I have to get to the writing. There's writing. I'll change it over to blue again. Step 1. Put the first inside the division bracket. So 2.85 division bracket. Division bracket out around 2.85 goes inside because it's the first one. 2. Put the second outside. I'll talk about why that goes inside and outside. That goes later. 3. Move the outside decimal point to the right to make an integer and mirror on inside. So what I mean by that is we're going to move this one place and this one place, and like that. And then, very simply, step 4, you're going to divide until you have no remainders left. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what that, we'll use that color. 15 doesn't go into 2, 15 goes into 28 once, that's 15. I subtract, I get 3, I get 1, I get 100. 13, bring down the 5. 15 goes into 150 10 times. This isn't quite as much, so I'll try 9. Okay, I need my decimal point right here. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry the 4. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 3 makes 13. Hey, I got 0. It's 1.9. 1 and 9 tenths. Now, that's how to divide decimals. Put the first number inside, put the second number outside, move the outside decimal point to the right to make an integer, mirror it on the inside, and then divide. Why does this work? Well, again, let's think of these as division, as you know, is a fraction. So this means the same thing as 2.85 over 1.5. Well, the problem with that is it has a decimal point in the denominator. We don't like that. You should have integers there. So I'm going to multiply by 10 over 10. And 10 over 10, of course, is equal to 1. So when you multiply by 1, you're not changing the value. So here you get 28.5 over 15, which is the division that we did. 28.5 divided by 15. 28.5 divided by 15. Good. Now, why do you put the bigger one, the first one inside and the second one outside? Well, think about it this way. Look at this almost fraction. It's not a fraction because it has a decimal in it. Which is bigger, 28 or 15? 28 is bigger. So this is an improper fraction. This is greater than 1. If I were to put the other way around, 1.5 divided by 2.85, move this over 2 places, move this over 2 places, does 285 go into 150? It does not. So this answer would be less than 1. But we know that 28 over 15 is more than 1. That's how we know that this is the wrong way. We need this to come out to more than 1, so we have to have the bigger valued number on the inside and the smaller valued number on the outside. Easy enough? Okay. Now, how about positive and negative? Well, if this was negative, here, I'll go up to this one just to look at it. If this was negative, then it would be negative 1.9. If they were both negative, then it would be positive 1.9. You know, one negative is negative, two negatives cancel each other out and becomes positive. You know how to handle that. Negative, positive shouldn't give you any trouble. All right, that's dividing decimals. How about adding and subtracting? And you know I group these together because you know adding and subtracting are the same thing. It's just a matter of going up and down. All right, so step 1, you're going to write it vertically. I have to change to writing again. Write vertically. But put the bigger one on top. And by bigger one, I mean the one with the larger absolute value. Okay, so the one with the larger absolute value. Well, of 2.85 and 3.5, which one has the larger absolute value? 3.5 does. So 3.5 goes on top, and 2.85 goes on the bottom. Step 2, you have to make sure to line up the decimal place values. What I mean by that is, you have to make sure that you're adding the 3 with the 2 and the 8 with the 5 and the 5 with the nothing, because you want to add ones with ones, tenths with tenths, and hundredths with hundredths. So here I'll put 3.5 and 2.85. This time we're not ignoring the decimal points, we are just lining them up. So make sure to line them up. Step 3, find the difference or the total. Okay, well this is a matter of whether it's going in the same direction or opposite direction. So this is a matter of, are we looking at, we're looking at the up and down. If they're both up, if they're both down, they're going in the same direction, and we'll find the total. If they are, one is up and one is down, then we know we're going to be finding the difference. Okay, so here in this case, 2.85 minus 3.5, this goes up and this goes down. So in this case, we are going to be finding the difference. In this case, this goes down and this goes down, both down, same direction, down and down some more makes a whole lot of down. So in this case, we will be finding the total. All right, so let's find the difference. Well, 5 can't subtract from nothing, so I'll put a little thing there. I'll rename, I'll put that there. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4, can't do that, so I'll put the 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. Decimal point goes there. 2 minus 2 makes nothing. Sometimes I put the 0 there, sometimes I don't. They're the same value, 0.65, 0.65, same value. Right, this time we're finding the same, so nothing plus 5 makes 5, 8 plus 5 makes 13, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.35. Step 3. Step 4. Determine positive or negative. Well, in this case, they're opposite directions, but there's more negatives because 3 is negative and 2 is positive. There are more downs than there are up, so therefore this should be negative 65 hundredths or negative 0.65. In this case, this is down, and down some more makes a whole lot of down. They are both negative, so when you put them together, they go very far down. That is negative 6.85. And that is how you add and subtract decimals. Why does it work? Well, let's think of this as 2 over 1 and 8 over 10 and 5 over 100. And then we'll make this minus, I need parentheses, 3 over 1 and 5 over 10. Now, you have to add common denominators. So, would you add 2 over 1 with 5 over 10? No, it doesn't have a common denominator. You would add 2 over 1 with 3 over 1. So that's what you would do. And would you do 5 hundredths with 5 tenths? No, they don't have a common denominator. You would add 8 hundredths with 5 tenths, or subtract them, which is very similar. And the 5 100ths, are there any hundredths in this? No. So therefore you would add that with nothing. Understand the idea? So the reason that you line up the decimal points is you have to line up the place values so that you add things with common place values. All right, so that's how you multiply. That's how you divide. That's how you add and subtract. I'm giving you the notes today because of the way that I'm making this. You can certainly look back at these notes to see how things work. That's it. See you later.